Well, I want to thank you all for joining us. My name is Randall White. I am co-owner and co-publisher for the Cornet Group with the author and the co-publisher of the Murder Becomes series. And we're glad you're here. Thank you for joining us for this virtual book launch. It's the first time we've done anything like this. And I would like to now turn you over to our author, Jeffrey Eaton.
Hello, everybody. Thank you for coming. I see a lot of familiar faces, and I have, I think, a couple of new ones, some new friends as well. Very much appreciate your being here. Thank you, Randall, for the intro and mostly for orchestrating this online book launch. We decided that maybe this would be a better way to do it. COVID hasn't disappeared entirely. The last time we did a book launch, it was actually before COVID. Hard to believe it's been that long. So we decided that maybe this would be a better way. Also, we're able to accommodate people from lots of different places. I know we have people who have been intending to come from the UK, intending to come from Switzerland to be a part of this today. So we felt like that maybe doing it virtually would be a better approach this time. So thanks again. I really do appreciate your help, Randall, on this. And to all of you for taking time out of your day to be here. We got a lot to cover, and we're going to try to keep this as close to 30 minutes as we can. And so very quickly, for those of you for whom you may be new to the Murder Becomes arena, ecosystem, if you will, my protagonist is Dalton Lee. He is Hong Kong born, but was raised in San Diego. He is now the world's preeminent architect, travels all over the world with his commissions. And as he was, while he was at Cambridge getting his education, his degree in architecture, he solved the murder of a California congresswoman. He became fascinated with the case, started studying it, and even though he was just a college student, he figured out who the murderer was. And in so doing, was able to take down a terrorist cult that was attempting to kind of usurp Western and Eastern democracies and replace them, instill a different type of government in their place. Everything was fine for a while. And then with my book, Murder Becomes Manhattan, Dalton learns that that group, called the organization, has regrouped and has begun their efforts to try to take things over again. If you're not familiar with the Murder Becomes series, if you don't have a strong background with it, I encourage you to go to our website, murderbecomes.com. There you'll find biographies of the main characters in the books. You'll find links as well to where you can read about and or buy Murder Becomes Manhattan, Murder Becomes Miami, and Murder Becomes Mayfair, set in London. So in this new installment, which officially goes on sale today, Dalton and his team are summoned to Macau, near Hong Kong, to investigate the murder of the CEO of one of Macau's largest gambling consortiums. Macau recently surpassed Las Vegas as the world's largest gaming locale. And the CEO, over several of the big casinos there, collapses on the floor of one of the casinos that she oversees, and the authorities determined that she was poisoned, probably by a martini that she was served just a few minutes before her demise. In her purse is the telltale calling card of the organization, which, by the way, in this book starts going just by the letter O. A clue that the CEO has somehow interfered with their plans to unleash in the region their latest terrorist plot. And the hope is that Dalton and his team, as they've done before in Manhattan, Miami, and in Mayfair, can determine who in the CEO's inner circle it was that murdered her, apprehend that person, and then force them to reveal exactly what the terrorist plot is that they have up their sleeve and are about to unleash, and hopefully do that before they're able to unfurl it. And along the way, the Lee group and you, my readers, encounter snake charmers, suspicious street urchins, mysterious market vendors, and, as in all of the books, some of the great architecture throughout the region. And here are some of the examples of that. Very quickly, I pulled three of the things that the book talks about. One in the upper left is the ruins of St. Paul, the cathedral on Macau. What you see there, the facade is all that remains. The cathedral was built several hundred years ago, and there was a great fire I don't remember exactly when the fire took place, but I think it was the 19th century that destroyed most of the cathedral, but miraculously, the facade remained intact and standing. And you can even see, I think, in this photo, some of the really intriguing detail in that facade. And you learn about that in Murder Becomes Macau. In the upper right, you see the remarkable incense coils that are inside what's called the Ama Buddhist Pavilion on Macau. The Ama Pavilion is actually a compound, a series of buildings throughout a small area there in Macau. And this is one of the most majestic, I think. And you learn more about the entire pavilion compound and this one particular building with the incense coils in the book. Finally, we have the third item there. Randall, do we still have that slide that we can bring up?
We do, somewhere. I'm getting it back up.
That's an interesting one. Well, I'll go ahead and tell you the third building that you saw there in the lower center of the slide is an apartment building in Hong Kong, and it reflects the principle of feng shui, one of the principles of feng shui, which guides so much architecture in the region. What you see there is an apartment building, and there you'll see that very open square in the center. That is what is referred to as a dragon gate. In the principles of feng shui, if you do not allow for a dragon gate in the middle of the building somewhere, the dragons that fly through the air in Chinese culture will crash into the building. And that results in bad karma for the people who either are living in the building, if it's a residential building, or working in the building, if it's an office building. And if those of you who are here in Dallas, such as Heather Dickey and Stephen Waller and a few others, I believe, you will be familiar with this, as the Trammell Crow building in downtown Dallas has the open square at the top of the building. And I think it's not a coincidence that the Trammell Crow building is the home for the Crow Museum of Asian Art. So I think that probably that is a dragon's gate that was built into the construction of the building. And you learn a lot more about not just dragon gates, but also some feng shui principles that are important in Asian design when it comes to the book, Murder Becomes Macau. Now, shortly, Randall's going to tell you about a special offer that we have for everybody who's on this call. And then after that, we're going to open up the call to questions and answers from you, conversation, dialogue. But before we do that, what I'd like to do for everybody is read the very short first chapter of Murder Becomes Macau, with the hopes, of course, that it'll get you titillated to go further into the series one way or the other. So this will just take a moment, but here is the first chapter of Murder Becomes Macau. For a moment, for one brief, breathtaking moment, it felt as if someone had hit the pause button on some nearby remote control. Those who had been standing around the edge of the roulette table were now pressing themselves against it, their torsos bent forward, their gazes riveted on the colorful whirling wheel at one end. A few minutes earlier, they had all been chatting festively with one another or chuckling at someone's clever quip. An elegantly coiffed woman in a ruffled white blouse and slim black slacks had been rotating in mid-air the glass that had held her gin and tonic, causing the cubes to clink, clink, clink. Opposite her, a younger man with vaguely Russian features had been rapidly drumming the edge of the table with his fists and whispering a plaintive prayer to some deity above. But now, no one seemed to be blinking or even breathing, as the wheel's rotation began to slow and the nylon ball skittered first toward one pocket, then another, like a hummingbird flitting from one flower to the next. The expression on every face around the table signaled one thought and one thought only. Where is the ball going to drop? Discreetly seated behind the first row of spectators, Jocelyn Cheng was studying not the ball's trajectory, but the looks of anticipation on the faces all around her, taking in the vibe of one of the 7 gaming rooms she oversaw. Whatever that vibe happened to be, was one of the greatest pleasures she derived from her job as CEO of the Lucky Fortune Casino Group. The looks worn by the many gamblers around her brought a subtle smile to her lips. She knew, of course, that even if someone standing next to her did beat the dealer, roll a 7, or watch the wheel land on whatever square they'd bet heavily on, they'd likely lose it all and then some within the next 24 hours. She loved knowing the odds were always in her favor, that no matter what, the house always wins. The room's reverie suddenly broke. The crowd began to murmur and clap. The wheel was about to stop altogether, so the ball was not so much ricocheting now as drifting from the edge of one pocket on the wheel to the next. She wasn't intrigued with the ball, however, for she knew exactly where it was programmed to land, on number 34, one of the numbers that gamblers rarely seem to bet on. Tourism was down in Macau, so the house was needing to be more cautious with its payouts. A hand extended over her right shoulder and set in front of her a chilled martini glass, cleanly accessorized with a tiny lemon twist. Compliments of the lady in the velvet pantsuit, the server whispered before dashing off as quickly as she had arrived. The owner of the casino scanned the perimeter of the table until she noticed a tall blonde, American, Australian, nodding in her direction. She sorted through her internal contact list, trying to summon up the woman's identity from the vast network she'd assembled over time. She came up blank, nodded back at the blonde to be polite, then took a quick sip of the drink. Maybe she was in one of my MBA classes at Oxford. She tried once more to signal to the woman her appreciation for the cocktail, but the blonde was now locked on the ball's final destination. Any second now, the orb would be completing its journey, breaking more than a few hearts in the process. 36, the croupier announced, number 36. Jocelyn Cheng started, then whirled in the direction of her employee, who was casually clearing the board of the chips stacked upon all the other squares. All the other squares except number 34, the pocket that the ball was supposed to land on, the only square that no one usually bet on. Only this time someone had. Something's not right here, she thought. What's going on? Flinging over her shoulder the gold chain handle of her pink Chanel purse, she slid off her seat and dashed toward the elevators. The very last sound Jocelyn Cheng heard before the darkness descended, before her legs went rigid and collapsed beneath her, was the crowd still reacting to the result of the spin, followed by a woman's voice shrieking in horror. But as several bystanders rushed toward Jocelyn Cheng's already stiffening corpse, the blonde woman in the velvet pantsuit casually leaned across the rail and raked in the tall stack of chips the croupier had just pushed her way. So begins Murder Becomes Macau. And as the book continues, those of you who are fans of Dalton Lee will be happy to know that he continues to be the quirky guy he's always been. He continues to obsess on grilled cheese sandwiches. He continues to have inanimate objects talk to him, start up conversations when he least expects them to. But the rest of his team also have some interesting subplots in Murder Becomes Macau that cause them to evolve in some very interesting and different new ways. Okay, it's now time for Randall to let you in on a special discount that we're offering to everybody on this call, but only those who are on this call. So Randall, you want to tell them about that?
You have 24 hours. We're going to offer to the folks that have dialed into this Zoom launch book party an opportunity to purchase a signed hardcover of Murder Becomes Macau through murderbecomes.com before 1 p.m. Tomorrow, Wednesday, September 27th. And we'll waive the postage and shipping to any address in the United States. This is a savings of about $5. You can either use this URL, bit.ly or bit.ly/book-launch-special, or you can even scan that QR code if you're so technically inclined. And again, if you are interested in purchasing a book for yourself in the States or sending it to somebody in the States, we're going to extend this offer just to you to be the best kind of offer we're going to be able to make on the book. I'll drop that URL into the chat so you can copy and sweep it and drop it into your own file. But again, it's bit.ly/book-launch-special. And hope you'll take advantage of it if you haven't already purchased the book.
Great. And by the way, I'm going to add in on that. We just learned yesterday that the books will arrive here tomorrow. Yay. And we're thrilled. We can't wait to see them. And so that means we'll be starting to fulfill orders tomorrow, within a day or two anyway. Those of you, some people have already ordered the book, and we'll be getting those out as quickly as possible here over the next few days. But do keep in mind gifts for friends or family or other people you know who love murder mysteries. And so you should be seeing a book one way or the other pretty quickly. All right. I think, Randall, were you going to launch us into the Q&A?
Yes, we are. There's an opportunity here. If there are questions any of you would like to make or ask of Jeff, now's the time to do that. I am going to share the screen one more time as a little reminder that you may have questions of the author, and perhaps you would like to ask those of him at this time. Anybody?
I have a question.
So, hi, Kevin. Good to meet you finally.
Yeah, it is good. I think I met you in Oklahoma City, but it's been years and years and years ago. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, it's been a while. Yeah.
Yeah. So my question is, do you travel to these places and then develop the story, or have you thought, there's an M place I'd like to visit, and then look at the architecture and develop your story from there?
Yeah, super question there. And the answer is mostly the latter. I have a short list, or not a short list, actually a long list of cities and locations and events and other things that begin with the letter M. And a lot have been added to that list by people like you who say, I'd love to see you do a book on this place here, what have you. And so we've kind of, culminated and combed through that. We did take a trip to Miami in advance of my writing the book. And I will tell you, it made a huge difference. One of our favorite stories is literally we were driving down a street in Coral Gables, looked off to the left and saw this remarkable sort of very rudimentary cemetery that was covered, had cypress trees all over the place. And I, basically did as I'm often doing with Randall, going, stop, make a turn, quick, go down the street. We did. We jumped out of the car, went into the cemetery, and it was unbelievable. I mean, it actually turned out to be a cemetery that was built for the founders of Coral Gables, Florida. So many of the tombstones were a couple hundred years old, and they're little tiny tombstones next to a tree or what have you. And there was a bench in particular that had been erected in the middle of this cemetery. And I went, that's where Dalton Lee is going to have one of his secret conversations with his confidant that he's always having these secret clandestine meetings with. So there was that. There was also the remarkable Vizcaya estate in Coral Gables, which ended up being the setting for an entire chapter. I was not able to do it with Macau. We fully intended to. However, first came the revolts in Hong Kong, the social unrest. And then once that seemed to start to die down, we got ready again to go over there, and COVID arrived. And so after about 3 years of Hong Kong and that area being in complete lockdown limbo, I said, if I'm going to write this book, I'm going to have to write it from Dallas, unfortunately. But the good news is we have things like Google Street and other tools that help us be able to do that a lot better than we were able to. So mostly I know where I want to write about, and if I can get there, I will, because it does make for a better book, I think. But that doesn't always happen.
Another question. Oh, Heather. There you go.
There we go.
Are you going to go to Macau?
It's possible we might do that. In particular, Hong Kong is my second favorite city in the world after Paris. And I used to go there every year for about 6, 7, 8 years on business. So I'm very familiar with it. I have some outstanding memories of Hong Kong. So I should have added that. A lot of the book is very legitimate because it's based on my having been there year after year after year and knowing neighborhoods and things like that. So I didn't just dream it up out of nowhere. And the book isn't entirely from research. It is from personal experience to a certain degree. So I would love to get back there. At the same time, the climate there, the political climate, is getting worse and worse and worse. So I just don't know if that's going to happen. I'd love for it to, though, because it's a fascinating city.
Any other question of Jeff from anyone? All right.
All right. Well, now we want to offer you another prize.
Ms. Otis raised her hand. If you
I'm
can
sorry, Diane
unmute
Otis.
yourself.
Hello. Hi, Blanche.
You're going to need to unmute yourself.
Unmute.
Okay. We
We hear
good?
you. Yes,
All right.
good.
I find myself, as I've read these books, I don't know if you think this way, but sometimes I think cinematically, and I always wonder, have you ever tried to cast any of your characters?
Yeah. We actually had a little contest internally with a few people locally who are big with the books about who would be Dalton. And there's some possibilities out there. John Cho, the actor John Cho, is pretty good, but he's a little older. He's kind of about 50, 52 now. And right now, Dalton's right around hovering in the early 40s, maybe. But he would be pretty good at it. Is it Siu Lee? Is he the new younger actor coming up? Is another one I think could very possibly play him down the road. But do you see anybody in particular in any of these roles? That's what I'm curious to know.
Well, you've named the character Bree, and she's a redhead, and I can't help but think of Marsha Cross.
Oh,
in
interesting.
Desperate Housewife. It locked in the first book, and that was that.
Well, I've got to tell you the funny story about Bree. That I hadn't thought of Marsha Cross, but she is a great candidate for that role. There's another one out there, but the story about it is a friend of mine in Omaha who read the book sent me a message. She goes, "Oh, I got to tell you," she goes, "by any chance have you ever seen the TV show Scandal?" And I went, yes, and I knew exactly where she was going because the actress Darby Stanchfield, who used to play the spokesperson at the White House spokesperson, also red hair. They called her Red in the show.
Yeah.
I absolutely saw, as I was writing the book, the first book, I saw her as, but Marsha Cross would be another terrific choice for that role. Got it. You're dead on for sure with that. Kathy Beal, I'm going to call on you by any chance. Oh, you've got your mute on as well. But I'm just curious, is there anybody you see in any of these roles that comes to mind? Any celebrities, any actors that you could see portraying any of them?
I'm going to say something really outlier here, and it's probably just completely inappropriate, but I see someone Keanu Reeves-like as Dalton.
Okay.
Oh.
I could see that. Yeah.
Because he has a "where is this guy from" appearance.
Yeah.
That's been my thought.
Well, and especially given what we saw happen to Harrison Ford in the latest Indiana Jones movie, we could zip, Keanu back to when he was 38, 40 visually for the TV show or the movie, and it would work even better probably. Yeah. Great. I would also suggest Chris Hemsworth playing Liam.
Yeah, any Hemsworth. Any Hemsworth.
Any Hemsworth. It doesn't have to be
Any
Chris.
Hemsworth.
It could be Melvin Hemsworth, most likely. And that would probably work. You're right.
That was immediate also.
Right. Great. All right. Are there any other questions? All right. Well, now we want to offer you yet another prize of sorts. We're giving people here at Murder Becomes at the Cornet Group. And this time, this will be totally free. We're going to have a quick little contest, and the winner is going to get a free copy of whatever softcover version of a previous book you would like, again, either for yourself or as a gift to someone. And this is going to be a contest. So what you're going to want to do is be ready to type something into the chat box on your Zoom frame there. I'm going to ask a question, and the first person to get the right answer to Randall via chat is going to win that softcover book. So everybody get ready, and here we go. Back in 1999, Macau was returned to China after being a colony for more than 400 years of another country far across the globe. Which country was Macau a colony of between the 16th century and the 20th century?
Not correct, Heather. We have a winner. The winner is Diane Otis. She guessed correctly that the answer is
Portugal.
Portugal. You're right. Exactly. And an interesting piece of trivia is that Macau was both the very, very first European colony in China, and when it went back to China at the end of 1999, it was the last European colony in China. So even Hong Kong left European control, UK control, left UK control before Macau did. So it spanned the colonial era in China from longer than anyone else. So Diane, we'll connect with you after today, and we'll figure out which of the earlier books you'd like a softcover copy of for whatever purposes you would like. And hopefully it won't be at the bottom of a parakeet cage or something like that.
We've got a little more time in our time together, Jeff, to address this particular slide.
Aha. Now, I know that there are a few of you who very likely, very possibly, have already read Murder Becomes Macau. We did send a few advance copies out in a very rough format for people to review and let us know about typos. And I hate to say it, there are still typos in the books that we're getting in today. We've discovered a handful anyway. But thank you all for being such good editors for us with the very early ARC versions of it. Or you may have bought the electronic version, the digital version, which has been on sale for a couple of weeks. So if you've read the book, we want to hear from you. What did you think about it? What do you like about it? Is there anything you're confused by? Anything you really did not like about it? Would love to know what you think about it.
Anyone?
You're on, Diane.
All I can tell you right now, I'm about halfway through, and all I can tell you is this is my first time reading it as an ebook rather than a hard copy book. And I have really enjoyed looking at the links, and especially for the kind of book you're writing where you're naming locations and you're talking about architecture. To see those pictures it really adds a lot to the reading, I think.
Yeah, in case you're not aware, the digital electronic versions of all the books have hyperlinks embedded throughout the story. And so you are told about the murder weapon, what have you, and you click on the link and boom, you see the murder weapon. You see the dumpster someone's body is dumped into. But also you see all that architecture, like what we saw in one of the earlier slides. I bring up for you. And I'll be honest, Diane, what would be interesting for you is to get Manhattan, the digital version, because that tour that they take, where they take you to the City Court building and the Seagram building and all of that, it's like, boom, there's the building, there's the building, there's the building.
Yeah, I went out and walked it, and it would have been so much faster not to. I mean, it was a fun thing to do because I was like, wow, this really checks out. This is cool. But yeah, to have it right there is wonderful. Also, just generally reading a murder mystery, you remember a detail, you remember a certain thing. You said, oh my God, this came up 10 chapters ago. You search the word. And I don't know if that's cheating. I don't know if that's, I should be testing my brain. I don't know if that's cheating, but it's like, oh, you know, to pursue a clue that quickly rather than flipping back to 100 pages is pretty cool.
You know, I had not even thought of that. Heather?
Yeah, I was just going to say, I love my library of hardbound books. I really do.
Yeah.
But I went to digital probably 7 or 8 years ago. And even I will still buy a hardback book, but I'll also get the digital version because I love the features that you just mentioned, Diane. Plus, if there's a word I'm not sure about, I just tap on the word and the definition comes up. Or if there's a place I'm not familiar with, I tap on the word and I get a little description of the place with links to it. I love that. It takes me that much longer, of course, to get through a book.
Yeah. But it's worth it. It's worth it, especially Ian, you're describing a piece of architecture. To see it is just wonderful. It's just so easy.
And one of the other things that we've done is in the earlier books, I don't think we do it in every single book, but in some of the earlier books, when I first introduce or reintroduce, say, Bree or Laura, what have you, you can click on her name and it takes you to the page on our website where we have the background bio about her. So you can learn.
Those are very good. Yeah.
That can be helpful as well to people who are just getting into the series and just trying to figure out who's who and where do they fit within everything. Good. All right. Anybody else who wants to share your take on the book? Anybody? All right. Well, we're kind of done about 30 minutes, and that was our goal, was to try to keep this to 30 minutes if we possibly could. Randall, do you want to one more time kind of let people know about the special? Well, there's this. Let me bring this slide up since we prepared it. Murder Becomes Macau goes on sale. The hardback copy goes on sale officially today. You can buy it from us. I will tell you it's a little cheaper right now from us. The hard copy is at murderbecomes.com. Of course, those of you on this call have a link now to a special form you can order it from that will completely wipe out the shipping and handling fees, which come up to about $5. And Randall, make sure, I think Joyce got in a little late on the call, so make sure she has access to that link as well. I just dropped it into the chat. Please share the book, if you will, and its availability to all of your friends, anybody who's in a book club with you, who likes mysteries, what have you. You can also buy it at Amazon Kindle. You can buy it at Apple Books. You can buy it at Smashwords, at iWord, at barnesandnoble.com if you have a Nook device, all of that. We don't control what they charge for the book. So sometimes they're a little cheaper than us. Sometimes they're a little more expensive. They alter their price like, the price of oil. They decide how much to charge for a book depending on it's there. And then finally, I'm going to ask, if you do read it, please go review it somewhere. Because the more reviews a book gets, the more people are aware of it, see it, what have you. I'm very grateful. I think we have 8 to 10 reviews already just here on the first day of the book from people who got an advanced copy. So, and all 5 stars, which we like even more. But nonetheless, if you could, wherever you go, and even if it's maybe Goodreads, which a lot of people like to spend time on Goodreads, review the book there, wherever it is. So that's what we had for today. Thank you for coming. I hope the chapter I read got you a little intrigued and wanting to find out who poisoned Jocelyn Cheng and exactly why. And can Dalton and his team once again pull off a miracle and stop a terrorist attack from happening that's intended to cripple the major cities in and around in Southeast Asia, Singapore, Hong Kong, Japan, even North Asia, etc. So any last comments from anybody or questions? All right. All right. Thanks, everybody. We appreciate. Oh, yeah, Heather.
No, I was just going to say thank you for being an author. Thank you for additional wonderful murder mystery material together.
Thank you so much. I love the books. I try to make them smarter than the average books out there in this genre, and yet fun at the same time. And Dalton, there's a lot of chuckles in this book, trust me, with Dalton and his crazy personality. So I hope you enjoy it. Thanks so much, everybody, for taking some time out of your day to join us for the official book launch.
Thank you.
Take care.
Bye.
Bye.